Hey everyone, and welcome back to another SwiftUI tutorial. Today we're going to be building a login system in SwiftUI using Firebase authentication for email sign-in. So we're going to start off by setting up email authentication with Firebase. So let's go ahead and dive on in. You can see I have Firebase loaded behind me, but we're going to go through the steps from start to finish. So I'm going to create a new app, but of course, if you want to, include this in any existing applications, feel free to do so. So I'm going to call it Firebase example login. All right, and before we really get into building with Firebase, we need to do a little bit of preemptive work. So the first thing you'll need to do is to go to firebase.google.com. I'll put a link in the description below, but you'll need to sign in. I'm already signed in through my personal Gmail account. If you want to create a different one for any of your projects, feel free to do so. Once you've signed up and logged in, you can press this Go to Console button. It should be in the top right. And from here, you can see that I already have one kind of created, and you can create a new project. There should be a plus button here. You can enter the project name. So I'm just going to call it Firebase Login Example. Of course, call it, something a little bit more appropriate for yours. You can enable or disable Google Analytics for this. You can kind of grab different information. We can just go ahead and leave it enabled, although I'm just going to be kind of throwing this app away after. All right, I'm going to select my Google Analytics account if you are adding it, which is just under my tag there, and it's going to prepare a project. We can just wait a few minutes. After we've prepared our project, we should get a Google info PList, and we'll also actually be using the package installer on Xcode to add Firebase to our project. Looks like our project is ready. It should go ahead and boot to it right away, but if it doesn't boot to it, you should see in that kind of console where you can add your project. All right, so we can choose to add an app to get started. So there's Apple, Android, and web. We're going to select the Apple one, so the one that says iOS Plus, and we can register our app. So let's just call it Firebase login.ndc.com. This is just for the bundle ID, whatever your actual bundle identifier is. If you want to find that on Xcode, you know what, we might as well just add our actual one, why not? We can click on our project identifier here, and here is our bundle identifier. So we can go ahead and actually just copy this. And we can paste that there. There we go. We can give it a nickname, optional, Firebase login example. And if you do have an App Store ID, so once it's been submitted, you can of course add it there. I'm going to go ahead and register the app. And this is where we can download that config file. The actual steps on Firebase and tutorials are pretty intuitive and pretty easy to follow, but it's always good to kind of have a visual example. So I'm going to download the Google service plist. Go ahead and allow that for sure. It's going to pop in my downloads, and it even says next we can use the Swift package manager to install and manage Firebase dependencies. We could even grab this URL here, but I'm pretty sure we can even just search for it. So I'm going to go back to Xcode, and I'm going to go to the top here, and we're going to do add package dependencies under file. So we can either give the URL that was found on the website. You can even see Firebase is in my recently used, or you should be able to even just search for it. I'm just going to place in the URL to make sure that we get the most up-to-date version, and we can choose the next major version, exact versions, etc. And we can also choose to add it to the project. And then we can simply just press add package. The package manager for Xcode is super duper useful. So I'm just going to fast forward time here to when my installation is complete. So I'll see you in the future. And just as a note here, if you are using the analytics, make sure that you add the Firebase analytics. And if you're using it without collection capability, the Firebase analytics without add ID instead. And then we can go ahead and we can add our installation code right after. We can see here, if we want to add the analytics, might as well, let's go ahead and add that package as well. Cool, so now we can see on the left side here, we have package dependencies and we have all of our Firebase things added. You can, of course, choose to add more later on if you'd like. So let's go ahead and add that sample code from the website into our Firebase example login app, or whatever your app is called. So we can see here that we need to import Firebase core. We need to have an AppDelegate, get changed. Let's go ahead and copy and paste the important parts. And you can even see they've made it as easy as possible with these little copy marks. So we're going to import Firebase core. So let's go here, import oops, I need a space there. Firebase core. We can also just import Firebase as well. I don't think they have it on the website example, but that's okay. We'll then copy and paste the app delegate here. So right before our main, let's go ahead and add that. And we can see structure your app. So that's what ours is called. And we can copy and paste the UI app for the Firebase setup. So I'm going to go here. And right before our variable body, we'll go ahead and paste that in. Is there anything else we need to add? I think that looks pretty good. We don't have any errors on our screen, so that is wonderful. All right, let's press the next. Oh, looks like we're ready. So there is a link to documentation here and some sample Firebase apps, but we can just go ahead and explore the console. And this is where we can look at authentication, cloud storage, hosting, etc. There's tons of great different options through Firebase. It's pretty simple to use, and you kind of have this portal that you can access at any time. All right, let's hop back into our Xcode project. So we're going to go to our content view, and we're going to configure the sign-in for the email login. So under our SwiftUI, we're going to go ahead and import Firebase auth, which is the authentication services, and we're going to create a new class, and we're going to say SignInViewModel, and we're going to have this conform to be an observable object. So go ahead and add our brace here. We're going to have two published variables. The first one is for the user, and the second one is for an error message. So we're going to say @published variable user. We're going to have this set to be user, capital U. We're going to have this question mark. This is going to track our login, logged in. Did I put it? Maybe it's a dash, logged in users. Then we're going to create another published variable. We'll call this one error message. It's going to be a string, and this is going to track our errors. Always a good idea to kind of handle errors gracefully, as I like to say. Alrighty, let's go ahead and add a function here for sign in. Looks like we have an error above, but we can take care of that in a second. So you can even see that we have a function here. I think this is new with Apple Intelligence, where we have like the predictive code, but we're going to have an email and a password string. So we're going to say email, which is a string, comma, password, which is also a string value. I just updated my Mac, and I think I have Apple Intelligence now, and it's like kind of doing the predictive coding, which is pretty cool. It's my first time seeing that. All right, and then we're going to have an authentication. So we're going to use auth.auth, so the capital A and then the lowercase a auth for authorization with the brackets. And we're going to reference our sign-in. So we're going to do .sign in, then we're going to say with email, which is going to be an email. So we're going to do colon email, and then password, which is just going to be password. Going to add a brace here. I'm going to say weak self, lowercase self, in a square brackets. We have our result, error in, integer in, if let. So we're just creating something to handle the error situations when the user can't log in. If let error equals error, and another brace here, self question mark dot error message, equals error dot localized description, and then we'll return. Outside of this brace, we're going to say self question mark dot user equals result question mark dot user. So this is going to update state on successful login. All right, so it says missing required modules, Firebase authentication. All right, let's go ahead and go back to our package manager real quick. Add packages, and we'll search Firebase. Let's make sure we didn't forget anything. So I'm just going to double check. Okay, I forgot to add the authentication. There's a lot of things that you can add in Firebase. So we're gonna make sure that we have the auth added. I forgot to add that one, I'm sorry. We can always come back and add anything that we had forgotten. So let's go ahead and add this package and hopefully that will fix it. Cool, so now that we've included that other package, seems like we're good to go. It's like, hey, you don't have email in scope. We'll go ahead and add that right now. So in our content view here, under our structure, we're going to add that email and password. So we'll do state private var, and we'll have it be email equals, we're going to have this be an empty string by default, and we'll do the exact same thing. Wow, look at that. The Apple AI knew I was going for the password. Ooh, but I'm not going for that yet. The view model is close. Wow, Apple AI. Sorry, this is distracting. We're going to actually create a state object next. And this is going to be another private variable. And it's going to be a view model, which equals SignInViewModel, the one that we had created above. Oh, and I forgot to put a space after my equals empty string. Okay, cool. So now we're tracking the email password, and now we have something that connects to our sign-in function. All right, in our VStack, let's go ahead and get rid of the original code here, and we're going to create some text, and we'll have this one say login with email. That's font styling to it, maybe large title. Maybe we can also bold it, dot bold. Cool. Let's add a text field now. Text field. And we're going to add email. We're going to do a comma, and we're going to put text colon. We're going to reference that binding variable of email that we created above. We can add some text field style here. So we could do text field style, and we can do period, and we can see all the different things. I think I'm going to do rounded border. I think that one looks the best. And we can also have our auto capitalization. So auto capitalization. And from here, we can set the style to be .none, which will remove the auto capitalization, which is good for emails. Also pretty good for passwords and things like that. Speaking of passwords, let's add a secure field to represent our password. This is when the user is typing in their password, it'll kind of show up as the dots instead of the kind of different information there. Just like the AI suggests, we're going to have password, comma, text, and we're going to reference that password binding that we've created above. All right, we can also add some style to this. You actually use the text field style as well to change this. And, you know, for consistency, let's also have this be a rounded border. And then we can create a button. Let's go up here. I know I probably could have just grabbed all those things from the button as well. And yeah, actually, you know what? Let's add the auto capitalization as well to be none in here. The AI has good suggestions. Oh my goodness. And for that button we added, let's go ahead and add login. See, now I'm finding that the AI is just distracting, if anything. Typical me, I'm going to complain about all the nice things. All right, and now we're going to reference our viewModel.SignIn. So viewModel.SignIn, we're going to pass along that email and password. That email is going to be that email, and that password is going to be password. All right, cool. Let's go ahead and add a button style as well here. Might as well. For this one, we could do bordered or maybe bordered prominent. Let's try those out. All right, and then under our button style, we're actually going to create an if let error message. We're going to have this equal the view model dot error message we've created above. We'll add our brace. We'll create some text, and in here we'll just have our error message, and then we can also give a foreground color dot red. Typically errors are going to be represented in red. Why do we still have an error in our sign-in? Cannot find email in scope. Oh my goodness, I misspelled email within the parameters. I said EAM. Yeah, that's not how you spell email. Always double check your spelling. Okay, there we go. And now we need to fix it down here. Email, there we go, it's spelled correctly. All right, not the first time I've done that, and certainly not the last. All right, and before we actually test, I forgot to add our Google PList. So I'm just gonna grab this from my downloads folder. We're just gonna go ahead and pop it on in. You can either drag and drop, or in the bottom left corner of Xcode, that plus button, you can add files. I'm just gonna go ahead and drag and drop. So this has a whole bunch of the information built in, and this allows it to communicate to and from Xcode. I'm actually not sure if any of these are sensitive. So if in editing, these are blurred out, yours are just going to reflect similar values. I'll keep the information on the left, but just in case there's like sensitive API keys, I'm just going to blur them out for safety reasons. 99% of the time, do not share your API keys with anybody else. Keep those private and to you. This way, you know, you have some security. All right, now that those things have been added, let's go ahead and build our app. Okay, cool. So here we have our content view here. We have our login with email. We have email and password. So if I put my email and ZZZ, password 123, try to log in, the email address is badly formatted. So it's handling that for us already. I know I did some similar examples before where it's like, hey, we're checking to make sure it has an @sign.com and things like that. That's actually already handled with the authentication through Firebase, which is actually pretty sweet. So I'm gonna do my work email. 1997@gmail.com. Let's go ahead and try to log in, print and inspect the error details for more information. All right, so if we actually want to take a look at, you know, what users can be authenticated, we can go back to our Firebase project. So I have my Firebase login example here, and we can actually scroll down to where it says authentication. It should be like with these some people here. Yours also might have like a get started tab, but from here we can see users. We also have different sign-in methods. There's some templates. So we have some email address, password verification that you could even set up. So, you know, like those buttons, you'll click here to reset your password and things like that. All of that can be handled by Firebase, which is really great. We have some settings. But if we want to go ahead and add users, we can select a sign up method. So we can actually use some of the other providers if you'd like. You can even use this to have Apple verification, which is pretty cool. So let's do an email and password. Let's go ahead and enable that. And you can even do email link passwordless sign-ins as well. All right, we can even go ahead and add the emails for the users. So I'm just going to use my work one at gmail.com, and you can even set a password. So I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. We can add that user. Oh, it has to be at least 6 characters. All right, fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Not my password for actual things. Do not try to hack me. And we can even see that we have that UUID, which is that user ID. So now let's go ahead and make sure you're connected to the internet. Let's go ahead and try to run our app and sign in with those credentials. Now, sometimes it takes a while for that to update on Firebase. So 1997@gmail.com. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's go ahead and log in, and we are good to go. We're not receiving any errors. We should actually probably have like a little message up here that the user is successfully logged in. And you can even see after we signed in, we actually even have a date when the person has last signed in. You can even reset the password, disable or delete the account here. So that is one way that you can handle sign in with the app. But if you want to include Google Sign-In, you can actually include it as one of the sign-in methods under the providers here. So if you want to do Google, you totally can. So what if we want to have our users be able to sign up to our app? Well, we can actually create a function within our SignInViewModel class in order to sign the users up. So what we're going to do is after the self user here, so we're going to get out of this function while still staying within the class. So like one brace up, let's create a function called sign, lowercase s, sign up. Might also be a good idea to also have that sign out function available somewhere. We're going to have an email, which is also a string, and a password, again, which is also a string value within those parameters. All right, so we're going to use our auth again. All right, and then we're going to do dot create user. All right, and then we're going to have a with email and password. So I'm going to use the autofill there, and the email is going to be that email string, and password also going to be password. All right, outside of this bracket, we're going to do the exact same thing we did above. So we're going to add a brace, and then we're going to add our square bracket, weak lowercase self. Outside of that bracket, result, error in. All right, and here we're going to say if let error. Actually, we can even just copy and paste what we created above. That's honestly going to be the best. So we're just having that, kind of condition for when the error has occurred. Oh, apparently I deleted this on accident. We do want those brackets for the authentication. My bad. All right, so now we have our sign up function. So let's go ahead and add a create account button as well. So we're going to come down here under the login button, and we'll just go ahead and grab that from the library here. This will be sign up. And for the action, we're going to go ahead and say view model dot sign up, and then the email again, email and password. You might want to have this in a separate view. So maybe you'll press a button and a sign up page will occur. So you might want to create like a sign up view that you navigate to and use the information there. For the example here, I'm just going to be using the same text fields. This is super unuser friendly, but I'd rather just kind of show you how different things work. So we'll go ahead and register an email and password and see what happens. Cool, so I'm going to put an email in. I'm just going to do joe@joe.ca, and for the password 123456 we'll sign up. Well, the credentials malformed or has expired. Oh, I did sign in, not sign up. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold on. Let's run it again. All right, joe@joe.ca 123456 we'll go ahead and sign up. Cool, and now we should be able to go to our users here, and we can see that Joe has created an account. So you're able to have this, and have all those users be stored on your Firebase. If you ever need to ban anybody, you can do so here. You can also provide them with a password reset, but it'd be a good idea to allow them to do that themselves. If you want to learn how to do that, you can check out the documentation for Firebase for a little bit more information. Again, I would also have this be on its own kind of screen. So maybe when they press sign up, it takes them to a new page with, kind of two different text fields where they can create that login information. And once they press the sign up button on that page, it will create that example here. I believe there's also ways to require people to have like actual real emails, because joe@joe.ca, I doubt that exists. If it does, pretty cool. So that's how we can log in and sign up through Firebase. You can also enable the Google sign-in here, and you can save that. If you do so, you do just need to add a new PList to the project, you can see that Google's now enabled. You will just have to add a sign in with Google button. You can check out the documentation to learn a little bit more, or maybe in the future I'll add a sign in with Google button, I guess, follow up on this video. But it is pretty cool. You can see that we can create those users. You can also go to settings here under authentication, and you can have like different password policies, domains, SMS regions, different things like that, user actions, right? So you're able to kind of control a lot of the kind of sign up there. So if you want to use Firebase to control users within your app, you totally can. And I think having like the templates and stuff like that actually takes a lot of legwork off of you. I don't know if there's a certain amount of API calls you can get every single month for free, and then once you go over that, you have to start paying Google. You might have to research that individually. So I hope this helped you add that Firebase login and authentication. Remember, this is kind of just a template. Once you have the correct username and password and that's been approved, then you can kind of log the users into the app and take them through the rest of the flow. So I hope this was helpful. I know it's kind of more of scaffolding rather than an example app, but maybe I'll make an example app in the future with all of these pieces kind of added together. But I hope this was able to provide you with some clarity and some support. So have a nice day. Remember, dream big, code bigger, and we'll see you next time.